What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I want to talk about the consumer price index. So we received some information today, and I told you yesterday that I would be going over this. So that's what I want to talk about today, and how this affects people who are retired, people receiving Social Security. That's the main focus of this video. First off, on this channel, we talk about financial news, retirement, Social Security, and what's going on in Washington, D.C. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so finally, I'm pretty much back to where I was before I left on my trip when it comes to my setup, okay? I made a huge mistake when I went on my trip. I brought way too much stuff, and so that meant I had to break down a lot of my camera equipment and my studio here, and so there are a lot of things that I didn't have, or I had, but I had to put it back together and all that. So I learned a valuable lesson, and that lesson is when you travel with a lot less. And I brought like 3 cameras, and I had all this stuff, and I never used it. I used one camera the whole time that I was there. Of course, I have these little small cameras like GoPros and things like that, but I'm talking about my big cameras. I only used one, so I didn't need to bring 3. And so my takeaway when it comes to traveling, and this is the first time that I traveled and pretty much put out content every day. Usually when I travel, I don't put out content every day, but in the last couple of years, I've been giving you guys this information every day, so I wanted to continue with that. So I was thinking, I'm going to need this and this and that. But the lesson for me is less is better. And in the future, I'm only going to bring one suitcase that has all my camera equipment in, and then another suitcase with just my clothes, instead of bringing the 3 suitcases like I did on this last trip. I mean, the valuable lesson that I learned is I brought way too much and I didn't need it. And because I brought all that, it just was a headache the whole trip. I'm paying extra for bags and things like that when I really didn't have to do that. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the CPI score. So here we go. Let's flip over to our screen here. And I want to take a look. This is Associated Press right here. Let me shrink that down a little bit so you can see that. So the consumer price index, prices jumped 8.3%. Okay. Now, 8.3%, you're looking at that and you're thinking, this is year to year. Okay. So you're thinking that's a big number. But in March, it was 8.5% year to year. Okay. So we're looking at numbers that are starting to go down. And that's a good thing. And I'm going to show you a couple of graphs after we talk about this, and you'll kind of see exactly what I'm saying. We might be at a point where we're at the top and we're starting to come down. And that's the hope. Okay. Now, when it comes to the 8.5 that we saw in March, going back there, that was the highest number that we saw since 1981. Now, when we look month to month, now this is very important. Month to month, it only rose 0.3%. And you might be saying, okay, 0.3%. How do we compare? What do we compare that with? Okay, well, let's look at March numbers. March numbers, and we'll just scoot down here to the bottom here, 1.2%. Okay, that's what we looked at in March, month over month. Okay, so we're looking really good when it comes to the rise of 0.3%. It means we're not rising at that same rate that we were in March. Okay, now this is the smallest rise, this 0.3%, the smallest in the last 8 months. So we're clearly on the right track at this point. Okay, when I say the right track, I mean we're going in the right direction. And when I say we're moving in the right direction, I'm looking at inflation. I'm looking at the top. Okay, it looks like we're at the very, very top now, and we're starting to come down. Okay, let's switch back. I want to show you what we were looking at month to month. Okay, and this is very important for us to kind of focus on the month to month. That gives us an idea of, have we been here before and what happened? Okay, so we saw in April of 2021, it was at 0.6. Okay, and then in May, it went up to 0.7. In June, it went up to 0.9. And then July, it went down to 0.5. Now, so August, we went down to 0.3. We were at 0.3 before. Okay, now guess what happened during that period? That's when we were still struggling when it came to COVID, and then they had the Delta variant, and then we saw it start to shoot back up. Okay, in September, it went to 0.4. And then October, it went to 0.9. November, it went to 0.7. December, it went to 0.6. January, 0.6. February, 0.8. And then in March, we were looking at 1.2. Okay, so you saw how it shot way up. Now look at the difference. 1.2, we dropped all the way down to 0.3. Okay, in April. So that's a really good sign. And as long as we're in a situation where we're not looking at any type of COVID new variant and or anything like that, we should be on the right track. Okay. Now let's look down here, and this is probably give us even a better indicator of how this looks on a graph. Okay. So we saw this jump here, and then it came kind of leveled off at this point, and we were hoping in September that we would see it just completely drop back down. We wanted it to go here, right? But it actually started to go up a little bit more, and now this is where we are here. Okay. We're here and we're here. So this was March. That was the bad month. Now we're looking at April. It looks like a better month. The hope is that we'll just keep going down from there. So inflation hopefully will continue to drop. And they're looking at all items here. So the blue, if you wanted to know the difference, and let me clear this screen off for you so you can see it a little bit better. But blue, we're looking at all items. And then when it comes to the red line is they don't add the food and energy. Okay, so they take that out of the equation. And so that's what we're looking at when it comes to the CPI score. So this was good news. This was definitely good news. And it's very crucial when you're living on a fixed income, when you're retired, when you're receiving Social Security, SSI, SSDI, if you're a veteran, it's very important that you watch these numbers and know what's going on, because this affects the money that you can spend, right? And we're also looking at the stock market, because the stock market is giving us a lot of indicators. And at this point, we need to focus on that. The stock market is up and down. And people are afraid to look at their 401ks at this point. And that's really dangerous, because if you're retired, you're going to need that money. If you're not retired, let's say you have 10 years to your retirement, then there's really not much to worry about, because we know the stock market goes up and down. And at some point it will go back up, and the hope is that when you retire, you'll have the money. But right now, if you're already retired and you depend on that money to pay your bills, well, that's where it gets a little scary, and that's where it gets a little tricky, because our stock market is at this point it's not stable, and there's a lot of talk of recession. Okay, and we might be forced into a recession. If that happens, then we're going to be looking at some real hard times for a lot of people. And I can tell you, in California, it's just ridiculous when it comes to real estate. And this could affect a lot of real estate in California and all over the country. But I'm just looking at prices in California and how much they've risen in a short period of time. And when you start looking at some of these houses, it is ridiculous how much they're asking. $700,000, $800,000. For a small house. I've seen condos for $800,000. You can imagine that. I mean, it's just ridiculous how high these prices have gotten in California, and we'll just have to see how this all plays out, because if we do drop into a recession, there are going to be a lot of those houses that are going to be foreclosed on, because people are not going to be able to afford them. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys today. I just wanted to give you this quick little update when it comes to the CPI score. If you guys have any questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.